Well, pleasant good morning, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of the PR Man and the Coach Talking Ball on the Ballfather podcast presented by Sportskeeda. I'm your man, Reggie Roberts, longtime NFL communications executive, also longtime professional sports and college sports observer. And we're joined by our man about town, the hardest working man in Tampa Bay, my good friend JP Peterson. What's up, man?
What's up, Reg? How are you, my friend? Yeah, it's been a busy summer, brother. There's a lot going on in Tampa Bay. Even though hockey's been done for a while, and I can't believe it just got over. It tells me how long the Lightning played for 3 years. It's been busy, so yeah, it's been fun, and it's baseball season, but it's always football season, 24/7 in Tampa Bay. So we got lots to talk about.
We got a lot to talk about. We're going to skip around here a little bit. We'll talk about your Red Hot Rays, who've been a little cool lately, but they won last night. They won 6-3 out on the West Coast to beat Oakland to snap a couple of game losing streak. They're about to be the first team in the bigs to win 50 games, and everybody's wondering what's going on. How have they done it? You're there. You live there. How have they done it?
Well, it's incredible. Sometimes I have to take a little peek back from 40,000 feet because we're so used to what the Rays do, right? And let me hit you with some numbers here, especially as it comes to your favorite Yankees, all right? So the Rays payroll, their active payroll, and it fluctuates because guys get hurt, but it's right around $65 million, all right? Wow. The Yankees payroll is $278 million. Now you look at their superstars, like their best pitcher, Shane McClanahan. Shane McClanahan makes $733,000 because he's still on his rookie deal. He's the best pitcher in baseball. Garrett Cole makes $36 million. Their superstar, Wander Franco, makes $2 million. Aaron Judge makes $40 million. So everybody's like, how the hell do they do it? Well, the way they do it is they get good players, and by the time they reach free agency or get close to free agency, they sell them off, and they get better players back or just as good players back and get more of them. And they keep recycling this and doing this, and so they always have young players that are very talented but up and coming and hungry. And that's the key, because as you know, Reg, in big time sports, when you get that second contract in football, when you get that second contract in baseball, you get a little fat and happy. And I think the Rays always play with an edge. And that's a huge difference, because when you're playing 162 games a year, you need to find motivation, right? And you're making $40 million a year. It's hard to find motivation. Now, listen, Aaron Judge is not the Yankees' problem. Okay, let me just say that right now. But I think it's just the overall feeling that you're comfortable, you're fat, you're happy. These guys at the Rays, they're chasing that dream, man. They're chasing that money. And they know every night they go out, they have to perform because they're making money. Every home run they hit goes on their stat sheet. They go to arbitration. That may be $1 million more. So they play with that edge all the time. And they're young and athletic. And with the rules changes, and you knew the Rays, the smartest team in baseball, were going to take advantage of these rule changes. They lead the league in stolen bases, and they lead the league in home runs. At least they have for most of the season. I think they may be 1 or 2 off the Dodgers now, who have a $300 million payroll. So when have you in your life ever seen a team that led the league in stolen bases and home runs? Their power, their speed, their athleticism is unmatched. And that goes to now I watch every game, I watch every pitch, right? And you can get all these analytics that tell you they're the best defense in baseball, but I can tell you on a nightly basis, they're saving 2, 3, 4, 5 runs a game just on defense alone. Outfielders that get to balls that other outfielders don't. Their ground ball rate, turning ground balls into outs, so their infield range, #1 in baseball. It all these inside numbers that just tell you how they save runs all the freaking time. And they've been able to hit, and they've been with no shift. They're taking advantage of hitting the ball the other way. They've got guys like Yandy Diaz, Randy Arozarena, Josh Lowe, all these guys that can go the opposite way. Maybe not Josh Lowe as much, but the other guys. And they're constantly hitting the ball through the hole and hitting runs. It's like old time baseball, man. They're hit and run, they're stealing bases, and they're hitting the ball out of the park. And they're doing it on a bargain basement budget. So it's pretty fascinating to watch. They've taken advantage of all the new rules, and they've got some really, really good players too.
It's really amazing to see what they've done because we're traveling now. As you can tell, we're doing the podcast from my car. Miss Gail, the lovely Miss Gail's got a little bit of a cold, so I'm trying to let her sleep a little bit. But we were last Friday night. We were at the Cathedral. We were at Yankee Stadium watching the Yankees play the Red Sox. 46,000 people packed. It was a judge. We booked the tickets obviously before bought tickets before we found out the judge wasn't playing. That was a bummer. But the margin for error for that team right now with him not playing is this big because if they make one mistake, which they made against the Rays the other night, against the Red Sox, they lost the game.
Yep.
But the Rays don't seem to have that problem. One guy goes down, the next guy they just keep doing it. It's a different guy every night.
Yeah, and they're so deep, man. They're so deep, and it does seem like it's a different guy every night. Yandy Diaz was the guy last night who had a couple of big doubles to get him up the run. Tyler Glass now, who just came back, right? I think it's his second or third start. He went. It wasn't a great night for him because he gave up a 3-run homer early on. He never gives up 3 runs, and he walked 4 guys. And that's expected. The guy he's coming off Tommy John. It's just, it's going to take some time, but he is supremely talented. I mean, that guy has the stuff, 6'8", throws 99 miles an hour, wicked curve, nasty slider. He's got the ability to be the best pitcher in baseball, and they just got him back. He hasn't really done much this year, and they've lost 2 pitchers to Tommy John already, and they just bring guys up that are just as good. And and they have a way also of going out and getting guys and rehabbing them, taking guys that had a 5.5 ERA somewhere else. They come to the Rays and they got a 2.1 ERA because their pitching coach, Kyle Snyder, and their analytics, they tweak their delivery. I don't know, some type of magic potion they have. They take these pitchers, and really what they do is they dial into what they do best. Like if you have a slider that's in the 98th percentile. You know what the Rays do? They say, throw your slider every freaking pitch.
Right.
Yeah. And that's something I think other teams don't do. Maybe because it's not great for their arms. The Rays have the most pitchers with second most pitchers with Tommy John surgery over the past 6 years. And they're constantly getting players, their pitchers injured. I think it's because they overuse certain pitches, sliders, curveballs that take more toll on the elbow. But then they just bring another guy up. They just bring another guy up. So it's kind of a war of attrition.
Kevin Cash is probably the most undervalued, underpaid manager because he seems every year, he doesn't get thrown out many games. He's kind of even keeled. And he keeps those guys going. I'll tell you what, they are playing, and they're playing on a brutal division. I mean, the division is stacked. I mean, I looked the other day. I think 4 of the teams, I think everybody's above 500. But I think everybody's got more wins than a whole bunch of teams who are in second and third place in other divisions in the baseball. I mean, it's a brutal division. It really is.
There was a point where I think the Yankees or the Red Sox were in last place, but they were 2 games above 500, and they would have been leading 2 other divisions in baseball, and they're in last place in the American League East.
Exactly.
And here's the other thing as far as the Rays record goes. Forever it was an unbalanced schedule. The Rays were playing 19 games a year against the Yankees, Red Sox, Blue Jays, and Orioles. And it made it even tougher for a low payroll team. Now we have a balanced schedule where everybody's playing everybody. So the Rays don't have to play all their games into this ridiculously tough division. So now they're getting their, 8 games against the Twins. They're 8 games against the Padres, who should be better. They're 8 games against the A's. And so this makes it so much easier for them to get their win total up. That alone is going to allow them to get 10 more wins than they would normally get because it's a much easier schedule. So
like 100. It's looking like 100-win team if they're easy. I mean, they should have 100 wins by August. I mean, at least by August they'll have 100 wins. They're playing great. They really are.
Yeah, and they've got to sustain it, and I think where they come every so often, like the A's beat them 4-3, and then they beat them 2-1. Sometimes the bats, and that's just baseball, right? You go 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position. I think the Yankees were 1 for 15
last night. Yeah,
1 for 15. I mean, that's just baseball. It just happens balls don't fall in, you lose some games. And that's why it's even more amazing that their record is what it is. So they've got some easy parts of their schedule coming up. In fact, this is the crazy part. The Rays have one of the easier schedules the rest of the way. They've gotten a lot of their harder games out of the way, and they're still the best team, best record in baseball. So, yeah, they're going to the playoffs. They could set the all-time record in wins. What is it, 116 by Seattle? That's doable, but it's not their goal. They want to win the World Series.
You're with the PR man, the coach talking ball on the Ballfather podcast presented by Sportskeeda. JP, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the mini camp. I think it ended yesterday.
No, they got one more day. In fact, as soon as I'm done with you, I'm heading out.
Yeah, I was interesting. I saw something. I saw something yesterday from Levante Davids, who had some really interesting comments about the linebacker, the middle linebacker.
Devin White.
I never can remember his name. Devin White.
Yeah.
I really thought, it was almost like the elder statesman. Reminded me a little bit of Brooks, how Brooks used to talk about, mentoring the young guys when I was there. Give me a little bit about why Levante David isn't in the household. He should be a household name because he's a great player. He's a great leader. And I think he said all the right things about Devin White. And I think, he said the team wants him. He's trying to figure out. How do you see this playing out for Devin White? Because who obviously wanted to be talked about, he wanted to be traded.
Well, this is a sore spot for me. And first of all, Levante David, it's a great point you make. How he's not a household name is simply because he spent most of his career in obscurity playing for a Bucs team that never made it to the playoffs. I mean, until Tom Brady got here, he'd never been to the playoffs. And that's even though his numbers, I mean, you heard of Luke Kuechly, right? His numbers are actually better than Luke Kuechly's, if you can believe that. And Luke Kuechly's a surefire Hall of Famer.
Sure.
No you go back and look at fumbles caused, fumbles recovered, turnovers caused, sacks, tackles, all that stuff, those numbers. Levante David is right up there with Luke Kuechly in every category. But you just don't know him because he plays for the Bucs until he won the Super Bowl. And of course, Brady got all the glory for that. So evidently nobody else played on the team. So I love me some Levante David. Devin White is the polar opposite. Devin White is a guy who completely overvalues himself and to some degree has been overvalued by others. I mean, again, we watch the tape. The folks at Pro Football Focus watch the tape. And I love Devin White as a person. I think he's a great guy. He's got a great story. He went through some tragedy last year. His father died in prison in some very controversial circumstances. And then he went out. That was when he was on the plane to Germany, and he went out and played against Seattle and had the best game of his life. But that is kind of the exception. Since the Super Bowl, here's a young kid, 5th overall pick out of LSU, wins the Super Bowl, got a couple of Pro Bowls in there as well. He makes a lot of tackles, Reg, but he makes a lot of mistakes. He's very, very inconsistent. PFF grades him as the 74th best inside linebacker in football. Let me repeat that. The 74th best. That sucks. No. And that's because he's inconsistent, bro. He's just inconsistent. He can't get off blocks. He makes splash plays now. He'll make a splash play, but he can't get off blocks. He hurts you in the run game. He's not a great pass defender, but he's got an elevated opinion of himself. And he asked for a trade because he wants a long-term deal. He's going to get paid $11.7 million this year. It was so bad that his defensive coordinator called him out. Somebody asked him about Devin requesting a trade, and he said, I told Devin, man, these are champagne problems, bro. Yeah, you're with apologies to Taylor Swift, because you're making $11.7 million this year, and that ain't enough. These are champagne problems. If you want to make more, go out and earn it. And the way he's gone about it, demanding a trade, and then he, scrubs his media of Buccaneers stuff, his social media, starts liking Philadelphia Eagles stuff with green hearts and comments on Jalen Hurts' contract. Hey, it's great that the Eagles take care of their own. Then he puts something up about being a cowboy, with the Dallas Star, and all these immature things, right? Super immature. He's supposed to be the defensive leader of this team. He comes out to OTAs and the mandatory ones, didn't show up at all the other ones that most of the other players were at, and doesn't work out. And then Todd Bowles gets up there and says, oh, no, it's not a hold in. It's nothing like that. We just feel like we don't want to risk anything with his body because he may not be, ready to practice. Well, why aren't you ready to practice, man? Everybody else is out there practicing. Levante David's out there practicing. Mike Evans is out there practicing. Carl Davis, they're all out there. Where are you? You're not ready. You're not in shape to practice at OTAs, and you want more money? It's just again, I like Devin, but he is going about this all the wrong way. I think he's, if you got leverage, like a great player has leverage, and I'll look at Kyler Murray. I'm not saying he's a great player, but he's super talented. He had leverage. They had to sign him to a new deal because he's your quarterback. He's your first overall pick. He had leverage. Devin White doesn't have any leverage. They just drafted his replacement in Servassier Dennis from Pittsburgh, and he's having a great pre-camp. He's, everybody's raving about him. Had a pick 6 in OTAs yesterday. So I don't know who's advising Devin White. I don't know what the hell he's thinking, but he needs to show up at training camp, get in there, and show this organization that he wants the next contract and go out there and earn the next contract instead of talking about it.
Well, let me give you this. From my experience, what I've noticed. I read someplace where, he's showed up a couple of times not in the best of shape, which was also a problem. And I had somebody tell me this a long time ago when I was in Atlanta. Somebody told me this. When you spend the offseason complaining about your contract, you know what? Usually the first thing happens is when you get back out there and you hadn't worked out, you hadn't prepared yourself, you have a soft tissue injury, you have a hamstring, you pull a groin, or you do something like that. And what that does is it puts you on the shelf. Not only does it put you on the shelf, but then that sort of behavior and doing those kinds of things on social media, that doesn't endear you to anybody. It doesn't endear you to your teammates, doesn't endear you to your coach, doesn't endear you to the fans, doesn't endear you to the people in the building. And that's what I'm concerned about because, you're one of the leaders. Levante Davis is taking you under. He trying to try to take some of the pressure off of you, and then you're doing that kind of stuff. Nobody's impressed with that, and it hurts you. It hurts you in the end.
Yeah, and if you think you're going to get traded and somebody else is going to give you a new contract, you don't think they're looking at this behavior right now? And let me remind you, you're an inside linebacker, okay? You're an inside linebacker. That is not a mega impact position. It's not edge rusher. It's not left tackle. It's not quarterback. It's not number 1 receiver. It's not number 1 corner. Those are your impact positions, right? You're not in that position. So to pay an inside linebacker like Roquan Smith, you better be elite in every category. He's not close to elite in any category. So I think he's completely overplaying his hand. You're 100% right. You get soft tissue injuries. Your teammates look at you cross-eyed, and none of it's good. None of it's good. And with the CBA the way it is, he really has no leverage. So, what are you doing? You're just running your value down. And
exactly.
I got no time for that. And I don't think. And there's one problem. I think it's Todd Bowles loves Devin White. He loves Devin White like a son. And Reggie, you've seen this in your career. When you get a head coach that just loves a guy, or a general manager that just loves a guy personally, it's business, man. It gets in the way. And Todd Bowles, in my opinion, is playing this all wrong. He has defended Devin White. Last year when Warren Sapp called out Devin White for loafing, put the tape on Twitter, it was Todd Bowles who came out and said, no, that's an anomaly. He's our best player. He does things I've never seen before. And we're all going, we've watched the tape too, Coach. We see the flashes, but he's really inconsistent. And now he keeps defending Devin White at every press conference. And for a head coach to do that, Reg, I mean, you've been through it. People start talking in the organization. And by the way, Todd Bowles' record is not exemplary as the head coach. So this is raising a lot of eyebrows with people going, come on, coach, you can call him out. You can call out your guy and say he needs, and he's kind of said he'll be here for training camp and be ready. Well, he wasn't there for mandatory OT. He's there, but he ain't ready. And I don't know. I think Todd Bowles is not handling this very well.
Not only is it a big year for Devin White, it's a big year for Coach Bowles too. It's a big year. Huge. Big year for everybody. It's a big year. So you know what? I think everybody needs to sort of kind of take a beat, pump the brakes, and sort of govern themselves accordingly because this is a big year for Todd Bowles. Big year for Devin. Devin would do best. I agree with you. He would do better to just sort of kind of put all that that sophomores stuff away. Stop tweeting the Star. Stop tweeting Eagles. Get in shape. Get in the best shape of your life, and go out and earn the contract. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Any observations from camp? I saw something the other day about Baker Mayfield's kind of light years ahead of everybody, and he's kind of having a really good camp. And the other guy who's thrown 9 passes is just kind of there. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, I was actually at the Mike Evans charity event this weekend, and which is fantastic. They raised tons of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars of kids that are involved in domestic abuse families. And Baker was there, and Baker's been everywhere, man. He's out with his teammates all the time at Lightning games, Rays games, events. He's everywhere, and he's really endeared himself to his teammates. He's done a hell of a job. Yesterday, he had 3 touchdown passes in the red zone drill. Kyle Trask, the other guy, second-round pick out of Florida from a couple of years ago, threw a couple of picks, including a pick 6 by Servassier Dennis, Devin White's possible replacement. But Baker's been really good, and he's really good in this offense, bro. He's, this is kind of the Rams offense that he ran last year. We have a new offensive coordinator, Dave Canales, who comes from Seattle, who studied under Sean McVay disciple. So this is kind of a Los Angeles Rams hybrid new offense that's being installed, and it's completely different than what the Bucs ran with Brady. There's a lot of motion for the quarterback, run pass options, waggles, bootlegs, rollouts. It takes an athletic quarterback to run this system and a guy that can run. And Baker's both of those things. He throws really well on the run. It's one of his really good strengths. He's very accurate on the run. So this, we've gone from a vertical offense to a very horizontal offense, a lot of crossers, a lot of different stuff, and he's accurate. I think he's won over the team. I think the Bucs really want a true quarterback competition when it comes to training camp, but I think we're seeing that Baker Mayfield is just a light years ahead of where Trask is, because Baker's done it, man. He's played in the league for 5 years, and the big thing about Baker is he's come in here and been very humble. Very humble, that cocky guy that you saw, coming to the Browns situation and all that. There is no semblance of that dude whatsoever. This guy has come in, said all the right things from the very beginning, handled his business, has been there every workout, every voluntary workout, doing everything that he should do. And I'm impressed with him. Everybody has been impressed with him. And I think, if I was going to make a wager for comeback player of the year, Geno Smith. In this same system.
Yep. Yeah. That's
sort of been last year.
That's sort of been the vibe. I was on the phone with the national guy the other day about something else, and we were just kind of chatting. He goes, I'm hearing in Tampa the guy that, just like you said, showing up to Rays games, showing up to teammates events, being around, being vocal, showing up to every workout. That's how you do it. And Devin White, just to go, not to beat a dead horse, he should maybe take a page out of what Baker's doing. Baker's kind of been knocked around a little bit, kind of been humbled. This game will humble you. It's a humbling game. This game will humble you. So, it may this is a cautionary tale where a guy goes, flames out, doesn't do well, first overall pick. I'm cheering for him because I've liked the guy since he came out of Oklahoma. I think the guy's a winner. I think he's a great player. And a lot of times quarterbacks don't succeed because they don't have the talent. Quarterbacks sometimes don't succeed because they're in the wrong system.
Yep.
And it's like he's now in the right system under Coach Canales.
Yeah, and they've got weapons. Now, don't forget, they got Mike Evans, who's, 9 years in, but still as good as he's ever been. He's only 29 years old. He's been there forever, but he's only 29. And he keeps himself in phenomenal shape, really does. And Chris Godwin, for my money, is a top 5 receiver in this league. I know he had the ACL last year, so he took a little bit of a step back. 2 years ago, and then last year he was coming off it. So now he's that second year off the ACL.
Yeah, which is always your better year.
Yeah, so he's, and they need a third receiver to step up. They've got some good rookies with some great speed. They drafted a guy, Trey Palmer, out of Nebraska, who's been very impressive. Big kid, runs a 4.27 or some crazy stuff. He's been impressive. They got David Moore, who's a veteran from Seattle, who's been a really good third receiver type guy. So they need to find that guy. And the running back, Rashad White has looked fantastic. Second-year player out of Arizona State. I think he's going to have a tremendous year. If I'm a fantasy guy, I'm drafting Rachaad White. Not at the top level, but he's, if you can get him as an RB2, you're golden. He's going to have a big year. He's going to get a lot of touches, I think. Keyshawn Vaughn's been there 3 years of running back. I don't think he's gotten the opportunities. He's a good player. I like the way he runs. He ripped off a couple of big runs yesterday and the first day at OTAs. That kid is got some moxie. I like the way he plays. Yeah. So they got some weapons on offense. Their offensive line is a little bit in flux, but I think, they're moving Tristan Wirfs to the left side from right tackle. He's the all-pro. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him, but he'll eventually be a great player. They got Ryan Jensen, who's the all-pro center. They brought in a couple other guys. So I think the line will be better because the scheme will be better.
Yeah. Finishing up with the PR man, the coach. Talking ball on the Ballfather podcast presented by Sportskeeda. Let's talk about your Lightning a little bit. I mean, they got ousted in the playoffs by the Maple Leafs, and then the playoffs, like you said, it goes on, and then obviously the team in Vegas won. They beat down somebody 9. They won
Panthers, yeah.
Florida Panthers 9-3. Tell me what happened to this. What kind of summer will the Lightning have? I mean, what happens to the Lightning this summer?
Well, at least they have a summer.
Yeah.
We were talking. I was at an event couple days ago with a bunch of my Lightning coworkers, and we're sitting here going, man, we've already all had 2 months of vacation and these guys are still playing. So this is what we've been doing for 3 years, man. It's like we're all like, I've been to Europe and Africa, and in the time that these guys are still playing, it just goes to show you, when you make it to the finals, you're literally playing 2 months more hockey. And it's not just regular season games, man. It's high intensity
playoffs.
Brutal hockey. And so, to go, and every team that's won the Stanley Cup has not even won a first round series game the next year, except for the Lightning over the last 6 or 7 years. It's so hard to come back after winning a cup, and we'll see what Vegas does, but it's so hard because you play so long. You lack the motivation because you just drank from the cup. You've been celebrating your entire offseason, which is only about a month and a half if you win the cup, is brutal. And so for the Lightning to go to 3 straight finals and win 2 of them, I think is just, in this day and age, is insane. And it was condensed because of COVID as well. So they need a break, man. The only thing that was wrong with this team last year is they were just worn out. We talked about this. So I think this break is going to do them well. Now they've got some work to do. Okay. I think Tanner Jeannot, they love him. I think they're going to re-sign him. Ross Colton could be a guy that's traded to get some younger, cheaper players back. I think you're going to see them add to the blue line a little bit, maybe try to add a little bit more girth to the blue line, because you look at Vegas and, man, it's copycat league, right? Vegas, their 6 defensemen are big and they can skate and they just beat you up and they wear you down, man. What they did to the Panthers the other night in the second period, in that long change period, it's not to get too deep into hockey, but that's where you got a longer stretch to go to get back to your defensive zone. And what Vegas does is they just hold the puck in that zone. Their defensemen just keep the puck in the zone, and these Panther players are out there for 2 minutes on a shift, and you just can't do it. Your legs become rubber, and you wear down, and puck's in the net. And they do this to you time and time again. So Bruce Cassidy, tip of the cap to you. You had to watch, the Bruins do a historical season after they fired you in the regular season. Then they get flamed out in the first, and you go on and win a cup. So hats off to Bruce Cassidy and the Vegas Golden Knights. I think the Lightning will be back. They got their core back. They need to add a couple of pieces, maybe. I think their fourth line of Maroon and Belmar and Corey Perry, a lot of old guys there, old, slow. We love them. They did a great job for us, but I think the Lightning will probably be moving on from most of those guys. I think we'll see those changes in the next few days. They'll be back. They'll be a top 4 team in the East, and we'll see where it goes.
Listen, we'll leave it there. I know you got to get out and go be your man about town. Listen, I'm gonna be over there a couple of weeks, and we'll get together, break some bread. Me, you get the girls together, break some bread, and we'll catch up.
Absolutely, brother. Appreciate it. Always fun.
Always a pleasure. Talk to you soon, man. Thank you so much.
See you, Reg.